When it comes to your education, there's no need to settle. Get the interactive and purposeful education that you and employers demand from Colorado State University Global Campus. You'll get personalized, career-driven learning created and taught by today's industry leaders. CSU Global was built to help students succeed with affordability, flexibility, and individualized support. It's time to expect better. Find your path to the career you want at csuglobal.edu, where online education isn't another thing we do, it's all we do.
Blog Talk Radio.
Here's the game. Let's go. It's time to attack. We the smartest, fastest, and most vicious. We gonna put them in their place. You coming out here? You going to game.
Andy's gonna fire deep. Puts it there inside the 10.
Look at Superman.
Good route by Edelman. Now they come on a reverse to the near side on a quick run.
What's up, NFL football fans, and welcome to another edition of Cover 2 with McMillan and Purdue, the show where we talk nothing but NFL football. I'm one of your hosts. I'm Devin McMillan. I'm at the round table with my partner in crime. We got Fred Purdue in the building. What's up, partner?
What's going on, man? This is I'm coming off of I'm hurt, man. I'm hurt. This last week was not good to me. I love the games, but ugh.
It wasn't good to me as far as Pick'em goes, I'll tell you that. I may have gotten 3 wins altogether from the Pick'em. But
I got a little bit more than that, but it was ugly.
You heard it in the open, man. You heard touchdown Kansas City. We've been hearing that a lot so far in the first 2 weeks, and we've been hearing that a lot from their young quarterback, man, Patrick Mahomes. Looking quite amazing thus far. Once again, Andy Reid, what we call him, Fred, the quarterback whisperer, he strikes again.
The quarterback whisperer, yeah.
He strikes again. What do you think about this one?
Man, Andy Reid, I know Donovan McNabb is probably like, where was this? Where was this in my career? Because I didn't get this at all. But Pat Mahomes just, I predicted this a little bit, but I didn't think it would be to this extreme.
Yeah, this man has 10 touchdowns in the first 2 weeks of play, and this is like his first real year being the starter. He's balling right now.
And it's not like he's just a flash in the pan. He's dissecting defenses. This dude is the real deal. And for once, I always, every now and then you wonder, is the NFL getting dumbed down, or are these guys really that good? Because Texas Tech quarterback struggled mightily, but he's just the outlier. And it's not just the touch, it's not just the cannon of an arm, but he's accurate, and he has some good weapons. Tyreek Hill.
Well, we shall see because, like we always say, especially for these new starters who come out blazing, like I really haven't seen a start like this, but defensive coordinators get paid a whole lot of money to catch on to things and to, combat things. So we'll see how it looks over the next 5 weeks or so as the league begins to get film on this guy. And if he keeps looking like this at that point, then, Denny say, if you want to crown him, crown him. It's just going to have to be what it is, Denny. All right, so let's jump into this episode, Fred. Let's get right into our quick slant segment. We got a few topics for you guys in our quick slant segment. And the first thing I want to talk about is your man AB, Pittsburgh Steelers all-pro wide receiver, Antonio Brown. Now, he had a situation, because we all know that the Steelers, again, even with a big offensive output, they lost the game. AB didn't have that great of a game, and we know how diva wide receivers kind of get, win, lose, or draw. If they don't get their numbers, then it's going to be a problem. But especially in a loss, when somebody feels that they could have contributed a little more to a win, Antonio Brown gets into a little spat on whether Twitter or Instagram, either way, social media, with a former Pittsburgh Steelers employee, Ryan Scarpino, and he basically was saying AB came into a great situation. You know, he was drafted to a team that had Ben Roethlisberger, basically trying to say that Big Ben is more responsible for AB's career than AB at this particular point. And you know, went as so far as to say so. He said he's lucky. He said he has to thank his lucky stars for being drafted to a team like this, because on any other team he wouldn't put up these kind of numbers. So AB's quick response was, trade me and we'll see. So for the early part of the week, you know, the big talk has been about, Antonio Brown might want to be traded, and then he threw flame on the fire by not showing up to a meeting on Monday, and all hell has broken loose in Pittsburgh ever since. What are your thoughts on this whole thing? Are you taking the hype and excitement seriously, or do you just think it was a coincidence that he happened to miss a meeting on Monday after publicly telling a former employee to have him traded?
Well, I actually jumped in on this little fray in Twitter world, and you know how Twitter world is. Once you jump in, you're subject to any and every kind of comment. But you know, when I thought about this before I jumped in. Usually, you know, you never are supposed to be really reactionary to this. So, for me, when I look at it, he should have showed up. At least show up to practice, and I get what he's trying to do. Make a statement. Hey, if I'm not here, how good has it been? Show me in a game. Don't show up to a game against a really good opponent. Then I'll believe you. You're serious about this. But when I also thought back, I'm thinking to myself, you have no Super Bowls. Ben has 2. Before you got there was this guy named Santonio Holmes. He was really good. Really good. And he's remembered for having one of the greatest catches in Super Bowl history, where Ben threw a pass to the back pylon against the Cardinals. And this throw, when I say this throw and catch, is remembered. It's one of the most memorable moments because it was one of the most difficult throws I've ever seen and most difficult catches. When you want to talk about toe drag swag, that's toe drag swag in the most critical moments.
Right.
This same Santonio Holmes, outside of some off the field problems, was probably, if not a top 10 receiver at the time, right on the cusp of being one. And he has the Super Bowl. So I think I'm kind of on Mr. Sharpino's list. I'm kind of with him because wide receivers are the most dependent positions on the offensive side of the ball. I mean, if you don't have a good quarterback, you're not going to be much of anything. I mean, ask Randy Moss when he was in Oakland. I mean,
they're the most dependent position in sports, probably.
and you can say the same thing. You can kind of flip it and say the same thing, in minus some guy named Breeze, Brady, maybe Rodgers. I mean, those guys sometimes are throwing to guys, some above average to maybe average guys. But for the most part, yeah, receivers are the most. I mean, ask Reggie Wayne how he felt when Peyton, that time period between Peyton and Luck, and when Luck wasn't there, and Peyton may have been injured in a game or something. Ask Odell Beckham Jr. how he would feel without Eli. I mean, you can go down the list. I mean, outside of maybe T.O., who he's had any and everybody throwing him passes, and it didn't matter. I mean, you have to be a very special guy to make that happen. Antonio Brown's success has been completely based on Big Ben, because for him, he was in the league for 3 years without ever making a real impact. Just saying.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. Like for people like Antonio Brown, it's kind of a lose-lose situation, because unless you ever get to go somewhere else and prove yourself, you're always going to have those doubters out there who think like, oh, maybe it is about the quarterback. And then, you know, to get out and prove yourself, then you have to be a petulant child and force your way out of a good situation. So like that's what I'm saying. It's like a lose-lose. He could stay here and keep putting up numbers, but you're always going to have people who want to give a lot of his credit to Big Ben. We'll never know. I mean, it's the same way, for the team that you root for. There's a small contingent of people out there who thinks outside of this situation, outside of this coach, outside of just, everything that fell into place for Tom Brady, we wouldn't think of him as the greatest or one of the greatest of all time, if he had to play somewhere else. So it's like, we'll never know, and it can never be proven. But Antonio Brown, if he really doesn't want out of Pittsburgh, which he claims, his agent claims he doesn't, you can't fall into this kind of stuff over what is now amounts to, regular old civilian people on Twitter giving you a hard time. Mm-hmm. Like, I know this guy Scarpino used to be the PR manager for the Steelers, but he's no longer there. So I wondered to myself, like, why does Antonio Brown even take this bait? And the only thing that I could come up with in the argument with myself is the fact that he did used to work for the organization. So Antonio Brown probably thinks a voice like that probably still, has contacts, probably still has people on the inside of the organization. So if you hear it from somebody like that versus just some fan on the internet, then you might think what he's saying may have some merit to it with other people. He might be hearing that from other people within the organization. That's the only thing I can come up with, Fred, as to why he even entertained this, especially to the point where he's going to say something controversial and it's going to alienate his team, possibly his teammates, because he has something to prove to a troll on Twitter. So shout out to AB. He's back with the team now. Mike Tomlin said they had a conversation. He also said discipline was involved, but we know Mike Tomlin is known to be a little, quote-unquote, soft on his players. He's a player coach. So in this type of situation where you say that and then you don't show up for a meeting, if he's not suspended for Monday Night Football, then nobody wants to talk to Mike Tomlin about discipline. Speaking of Mike Tomlin, there's a lot of people out there who think he's already lost his locker room and wonder why he's still the coach. But that's a whole other show, and I'm pretty sure those rumblings will stick around, so we will get to talk about that sometime soon. But we'll see how this whole thing plays out. A lot of people took it really seriously and, immediately started writing articles of who could be trade players for Antonio Brown. And I just think everybody jumps to conclusions really quickly. But talking about trades, your team made one this week. And, maybe a day or two after Cleveland announced to the world that they were going to release Josh Gordon on Monday, they came to a deal with your New England Patriots to trade Josh Gordon to New England for a number 5, and it has stipulations on it, which I think, New England covered themselves pretty well, but we're used to New England being a very intelligent organization. If he doesn't play in 10 games, then they get their 5th-round pick back, which is great because we know as far as playing in games, Josh Gordon is the most unreliable player in the NFL at this particular point. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on this whole thing? And first of all, can we give some kudos to Cleveland? Because this is, we're not used to seeing them do smart things, because the fact that they announced to the world earlier in the weekend that Josh Gordon will be released on Monday was nothing but a ploy to get teams to bidding before he hit the open market. And it worked because they got contacted by 8 to 10 teams right off the bat, and then your New England Patriots came in and scooped them up. So what's your thought about this whole situation?
I think part of this, Jacksonville had a part in this, not by choice, but based off of what we saw on Sunday. The Patriots don't really have any. I didn't really want to get into that really a lot. But when you saw that game, you saw Gronk getting mauled, double teams. He was taken out of that game, and the receivers just aren't that dynamic. And it doesn't help that you don't have Edelman out there either. But there's no one that's really dynamic like a Brandon Cooks. Maybe you should have paid him, or maybe his soul went to heaven and they're still looking for him. Nonetheless, having a guy like a Josh Gordon, if he's right, when he's right, he's right. And with a really, really strict structure there in New England where there's stipulations on him playing and him knowing, hey, man, this is my last opportunity, he might get his stuff together. So for me, when I look at this is thank you, Jacksonville, for this, because maybe if that game may have not been, and I'm just speculating here, but maybe just putting my GM hat on, maybe if this game wasn't as lopsided for the Jacksonville defense versus the New England offense, maybe Josh Gordon doesn't get that contact and he goes through waiver wires because, quite honestly, the Patriots need some help at receiver, and he's the shot in the arm they might need.
Right. It depends, man, because we haven't seen this man play in a very long time. I mean, we saw him play week 1. And that's the one thing. Now, a lot of people out there are really, excited. They could be, let me rephrase this. There's some people who are excited. There's some people who straight up hating. You know the kind of treatment that, your team gets. Success breeds contempt. So there's a lot of people out there, oh, man, here we go. This is unfair. How the Patriots get one of the top receivers in the league. And I'm pumping a lot of people's brakes on this. I'm like, okay, one of the top receivers in the league, like we ain't seen this man play in 4 years, really. Like he's played 11 games in the past 4 years. He's had one great season, and while that season was going on, we were wondering if we could believe it because this guy just came out of nowhere and started just hammering teams the way he was. Now, I'm not saying that he doesn't, of course he still possesses the potential to be a great receiver, but I think a lot of people are just jumping to that conclusion because of this one season he had a very long time ago, and they want to overblow it because of their hatred for the Patriots. Now, on the other hand, if there's anybody, any quarterback and any coach and any organization that could possibly bring the best out of Josh Gordon, then it's probably the Patriots. And you can go to, because you haven't been in the chat for a while, but if you went to our, to the War Room Sports Game Time chat in the GroupMe app, you'll see that the moment that they said they were going to release him on Monday, I went straight to the chat and said, Josh Gordon going to end up in New England or not? Because I know the arrogance of the organization. I know the arrogance of probably the greatest coach of all time. They always have that thought in their minds. Man, if anybody can control him, we can. So I figured that the Patriots would be players in this situation, and then he ends up going there. So I'm really interested in seeing, though, if they can bring that out of him. What are your thoughts? I mean, I know you think that they can, but, what's he have left in that tank that we haven't seen in a long time? I mean, if there's a fresh NFL player out there, it has to be him, right? He's been on the shelf for a while.
Yeah, he's got to be fresh, but it's more what he needs to do is he needs to really figure out, do I love football? That's really the only question he has. Does he love the game? If he loves the game, then, and he can stay off the lead, please stay off the lead, even if it's for one season. I'm always entertained by seeing the fact that when you guys know him as Tom Brady, I know him as 12. So when 12 gets a receiver, a good one, Brandon Cooks, Randy Moss, big things happen, especially guys with deep speed. So I'm just hoping something happens here, because to get Josh Gordon, you had to release another Browns receiver, by the way, Corey Coleman, who was just recently signed. So I feel sorry for Corey Coleman, because that might have been his last chance in the league. But, it's interesting to see how a New England team that knows they're basically saying, I'd rather take a chance with a 5th-round pick on a guy that can play, and we'll see what we can do with him and bring him along slowly because he's still young. So,
well, you spoke about his potential love for the game. If he ever loved the game of football, if this situation can't renew your love for the game, then I don't know what can, because kind of like LeGarrette Blount, you have to thank your lucky stars. Shout out to Scarpino and what he said to AB. But Josh Gordon has to thank his lucky stars, because you've been given a lot of chances by this Cleveland team. They finally decide to give up on you. Because don't get it wrong, this was behavior related as well. They haven't come out publicly to state exactly what team rules he broke this time. But negative behavior gets you to, one of the best franchises, the best franchise in the league, somebody who competes for Super Bowls year in and year out. That's what your negative behavior has gotten you. So you have to thank your lucky stars that Bill Belichick is cocky enough to say, oh, I can control him. You know what I'm saying? Just like LeGarrette Blount before him, just like Randy Moss before them, Bill Belichick, thank him for being the cocky, arrogant coach that he is. Because other than that, you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying he wouldn't have gotten a shot had he, gotten cut and been on waivers. But, hey, you might end up with the Jets, the Bills, or somebody like that, not the New England Patriots. So I think it's time for that man to go out there, listen to his coach, listen to his quarterback, and ball out like we all saw that he could, the last time we saw him play a full season. And he could help this team out immensely. So it's all up to him now, man. All up to him.
I'm looking forward to it. 12 to Flash Gordon. I can't wait.
All right, so our last quick slant. Just give me some of your impressions of week 2. I mean, I kind of started out the show talking about Pat Mahomes and how he's terrorizing the league so far. But what are some of your other impressions besides Pat Mahomes and that crazy offense that they got going on over there in Kansas City?
Well, there's only one other quarterback who's really killing the league. And when I say he's killing the league, not in a bad way, but Fitzmagic, he backed it up. I'm really
the magic is back.
At least for now, and Tampa now is falling for the bait. They're doing exactly what we said they would do. We're gonna keep Ryan Fitzpatrick in the lineup. Go with the hot hand. Jameis is cool with it. We know good and well Jameis is not cool with this, and he wants his spot back in the contract year. He wants his job back
in week 2. He hit the Eagles for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns just on 2 plays alone. Because of bad defense, but hey, Fitzmagic.
One of my other things, what I've seen is I hate this tackling rule, this roughing the passer, unnecessary roughness, 15-yard penalty.
We will get to that more in depth in a minute too.
It is the worst. It is the worst.
It definitely is.
And the Saints may not be who we thought they may have been last year, and the team hasn't really changed much. But 2 weeks in a row put up big numbers against Tampa and a loss. But then the Browns, or is it? Let me rephrase this: are the Browns really competitive, or are the Saints really not that good? That's the real question on both sides.
I think you have to meet somewhere in the middle with that, but I do think the Browns are competitive and are going to be competitive. If you look at both of their games were winnable if they didn't brown them up so much. If the Browns weren't being the Browns, they would have won. They would be 2-0 right now. But in games where they outplayed the other team and the other team kept trying to hand them wins on a silver platter, they kept browning it up and they kept rejecting the food. So I think they're competitive. They just don't know how to win. They don't know how to get out of their own way. They don't know how to not be the Cleveland Browns. When they figure out how to not be the Cleveland Browns, then they'll get some W's in the win column instead of us just saying, oh, man, the Browns are competitive. They only got beat by 3. They only got beat by 1. They got beat in overtime. This is the season for that. Maybe next season, they'll learn how to win some of these games. But it's the Browns. They'll get this kind of chemistry going. because they didn't win these games, they'll fire Hugh Jackson, they'll start all over, and then they'll be trash again. So, you know how the story goes.
Yeah.
It's the Browns.
And last but not least, shout out to you, John Gruden. You, again, asked a redundant.
Yeah.
You know, I always say there's no such thing as a stupid question, but then I have
it
to
is if you ask it twice.
If you ask it twice and you know the answer, you know the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results. So you're expecting different results from the fact that you traded a top 5 player in the league. Let's just call it what it is. The man has been Khalil Mack was an all-pro at 2 different positions, only player to ever do it. Okay, and granted, he had the same responsibilities in the defenses. They just changed schemes. But you're telling me that you asked why you're not getting a pass rush on a team that couldn't get a pass rush last year, and he was accounting for a third of the team's pressure and sack totals. And you trade him, and then this man goes over to Chicago and just terrorizes people. He made Aaron Rodgers look human.
Let me say the same thing that you just said, but make it sound even worse. You asked the same question after both games about why your team can't get pressure on the quarterback. Now, Fred said this. Your answer, is right there in Chicago. I'm going to tell you this. Your answer has been on national television for the first 2 weeks of the season. So not only did you see it and know the answer to it, but all of America knows the answer to the question. So why will you keep asking this question? Just tune in to Sunday Night Football or Monday Night Football in the first 2 weeks of the season, and your answer will be on display. But that's the stubbornness of, that's the stubbornness of an NFL coach. The answer's right there. Instead of just saying, we might have made a mistake. You're just going to keep asking that question like you're shocked and surprised that you're not getting any pressure. Come on, man. There's a graphic out there. I should have brought that up for the show. But it's a graphic comparing Khalil Mack thus far this season to the entire Raiders defense so far this season. And they both have something like 2 sacks, 1 interception. Khalil Mack has 1 touchdown. The Raiders defense have 0 touchdowns. It's crazy. Like he has the same output as far as turnovers and touchdowns go. Sacks, turnovers, and touchdowns, fumbles and interceptions. He has the same output plus some than the entire Raiders defense right now. Yet Chucky wants to keep going on TV asking that dumbass question. It's crazy, man. But yeah, quick. I want to let you in on a quick little secret about the Fitzmagic, because I'm not a believer, because we all know how this story plays out. Even though sometimes the story does last for most of, if not all of a season, especially if he's working on trying to get a new contract. Andrew Luck is my starter on my fantasy team, right? My backup was David Carr. So Andrew Luck's playing my Philadelphia Eagles this week, and even in fantasy football, I don't play quarterbacks against my real team in fantasy football, even if it's going to cost me a loss. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, okay, I got to roll with David Carr this week because Andrew Luck plays the Eagles. So I decided to go to the waiver wire and get rid of Carr for the Fitzmagic, since I'm only planning on a quick replacement while they play my boys. So for a week,
and
now,
you guys talk about me hedging my bet.
In week 2, I wanted Fitzmagic to be dead and gone. But since he killed my Philadelphia Eagles, just like he, killed it in week 1, I'm going to need him to do it for at least one more week. But watch this be the week when he turns back into a pumpkin and plays like post-contract Fitzmagic. Fitzpatrick. He's going to go back to Fitzpatrick post-contract. But I just wanted to let you in on that little secret. Like, yeah, I took the bait. I definitely took the bait. Somebody that not known for taking bait, I took the bait. All right, so that's your quick slants. Let's go deep on a subject real quick, and it's one that Fred just mentioned a few minutes ago. These new NFL tackling rules. Is this hurting the game?
I think it is, because you have Aaron Rodgers looking at Anthony Barr early. They got into it a little bit. I don't know what was said, but it looked like there was a nice a friendly football conversation was being had. There's a lot of 4-letter words in there, some F-bombs, something slick being said. For me, that wasn't even the issue, because Anthony Barr actually pulled up when Aaron Rodgers was about to be hit going out of bounds. He pulled up. But Clay Matthews made a beautiful tackle. This was textbook. They teach you from Little League, Pop Warner, high school, college. You couldn't do this. You couldn't do it. Your linebacker coach more proud. He would be just ecstatic about this sack. And then
flag on the play.
Proverbial yellow flag comes out. And,
personal
and
foul.
Everyone in the stadium is like, what just happened? You can't hit him low. You can't hit him high. You hit him. Clay Matthews literally hit him in the stomach, basically. And because what is he supposed to do? He's in mid. I don't think we don't think of football in the sense of science and physics and everything. But I'm just curious. How is he supposed to not drive Kirk Cousins into the ground in mid-spear and doing his best Roman Reigns impression? I'm just curious.
Yeah, these new tackle rules are crazy, and they're doing it in the name of safety, which is supposed to make everybody happy. But I don't know. I think this is going to drive a lot of people away, even the people who want to see the game be more safe. Like, you're not making it more safe. You're just making it like you might as well just hand out flags right now, because some of the roughing the passers that I've seen, and they try to explain it, the guy brings his body weight down on the quarterback. Well, when you tackle a quarterback and you land on top of him, your body weight is going to come down on him. Now, I can distinguish between just saying that and that thin line of somebody doing too much. Sometimes people want to lift people off the ground before they slam them, or, you want to hit them kind of high and get that lift while you're falling and then bury your shoulder. Like, there's some things that are a little bit excessive. But like you said, the some of the things that they've called that totally kill defensive momentum and continue drives, and a lot of these drives, the offense end up scoring after the defense had them dead in the water because of some ticky-tack, hit on the quarterback that was not dirty, that was not. It's getting a little bit ridiculous, Fred. It's getting
games
really
are being
ridiculous
decided
out here. And I saw the hit that you spoke about. The games are being decided because, even though I'm rooting for my man Captain Kirk, just because, I hate the Washington professional football fans. I'm rooting for my man Captain Kirk, but that game would have been signed, sealed, and delivered on that deep interception that he threw had it not been for that, that bogus call that gave them another chance for him to throw a beautiful touchdown after that. So it's gone too far, man. So what do you propose that they do, though?
At times, I don't know what you can do. You can't.
They got to revisit, man. They got to slack off on this.
The purist in me says, can we go back to 1970s football? And that's the purist in me. I miss the days of dudes
CTE ball.
Exactly. I miss the days of guys. You go over the middle, you better have alligator arms because you're going to get killed over the middle. And I can understand the limited practices and things like that. I can even go with, can we shorten the season, maybe 13 games, 14 games, maybe even 15 games, or even take out 2 preseason games. I'm good with all of that. But can we go back to 1970s football? Yeah,
I'm shorting the season.
I'd be even happy with, let the off season, those scrimmages you have, that's your preseason. Let those go towards the end and let those be your preseason, and you sell tickets a little different. But please, can we get back to playing football? Because this isn't football. This is, let's protect really, really high-paid people who are running around in pads and helmets from being injured because they can throw a football really well. It's still football. It's a physical, violent game. If you don't want to play a physical, violent game, go play golf. Go play tennis.
I'm all for the spearing rules. Like I understand that, but this new, this, and you figure a lot of times when they do change or tweak a rule, you'll see a lot of flags in the preseason just to kind of scare people a little bit and shake you up to get you to do the quote unquote right thing, and then they slack off in the regular season because they know they were being excessive in the first place. There hasn't been much slack off. I've been seeing these calls in the first 2 weeks of the season, and it's definitely ruining the game. I think we could be safe without being totally biased towards the quarterback. Like,
exactly. And by the way, my guy is Tom Brady, who because of a Bernard Pollard hit to the knee, missed the whole season, and I'm still okay with, guys, quarterbacks are players too. They're runners too.
Because that's where that hit is where the below the knee rule came, and then last year, Anthony Barr's hit on Aaron Rodgers is where these new rules are coming from, which in turn is why those two guys were having words the other day, because they're the damn reasons for these stupid rules in the first place. So shout out to them. All right, so let's get into our final segment, our Pick Six segment, and let's pick 6 of these games that are coming up this week. Week 2 was really difficult for me on the pick'em scene.
It was for me too.
I definitely have to get back on my horse this week. Let's start out with the Saints versus the Falcons. What are your thoughts on that one?
This game it's an in-division matchup, and you know how those kind of things happen. It's the NFC South. You can throw all the records out the window. It almost reminds you of a good old SEC matchup out in college football, where this is Auburn, Alabama. This is like Alabama, LSU. This is where the good guy. This is where a good game is going to come from. You have 2 really good quarterbacks who are going to be slinging it around. But the defense, what happened? The Falcons have an excuse a little bit. You don't have Deion Jones. You don't have on the offensive side. You don't have Devontae Freeman. You don't on the defensive side also. You don't have Keanu Neal, all injured. So you have a little bit of an excuse. But what's the Saints' excuse for having such a lack of production? Mark Ingram is he's a primary running back who isn't really a ball catcher. He doesn't catch passes. So what's the excuse there on both sides of the ball? Marshawn Lattimore not looking like the Pro Bowler type player we saw last year. I'm taking the Falcons only because they were productive week 1 against the Eagles, and they just couldn't score in the red zone, but they were effective against that Panthers defense. I'm just not sure what I'm seeing in the Saints team. Last year, we said this defense was pretty good.
And that's the exact same thing that I'm kind of worried about, because I think in any other, scenario last year, whatever, or coming into this year, had I not seen them play yet, I would have absolutely taken the Saints in this game. But I think I'm going to go Falcons as well. It is a Sunday. It's in Atlanta, so that Chick-fil-A aroma is going to be going around the stadium. I think that's going to get a couple of guys excited because sometimes they don't get the. Oh, I'm sorry. Never mind. They don't got the Chick-fil-A. This is a Sunday game. All right. Here we go again. One of your biggest sponsors and your best restaurants, and nobody gets to partake. So that aroma will not be wafting around the Mercedes-Benz dome or whatever they're calling it. I'm gonna still go with the Falcons though at home. I think they're gonna be able to pull this out. But this is one of those things, Fred. As soon as we see some imperfections from the Saints and we start to not believe in them, this is going to be the game that they come in to Atlanta and win. Watch. But we shall see how it plays out. We're both going to take the Falcons for now. The Bengals versus the Panthers. This is a 1:00 game on Sunday to be played at Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte. This is an interesting matchup because the Bengals have come out like gangbusters, but their number one runner, Joe Mixon, is going to be out for a while. He got his knee scoped just, because during that game, I know you saw during the last game, he was in and out of the lineup a little bit because he was having knee pains. They said during the game, I guess a piece of his bone chipped and was floating around in his knee. So they scoped his knee, but during the scope, they found that he had a slightly torn meniscus. So he might be out for at least 2 to 3 weeks. Gio Bernard is a pretty good backup. He's a do-it-all back. But he's not giving them the same impact as a Joe Mixon. So I'm interested in seeing how this team can keep the fire going while their main runner is out. This is another one. This is the same thing. Like, I want to pick the Bengals to go in here and win this game, but as soon as you start to believe in the Bengals is when they're going to go out and lay an egg. So I think I'm going to go with the Panthers at home on this one. I don't believe too much in the Panthers' offense right now. But like I said, the Bengals missing, their best runner, and it being the Bengals with a 2-0 start, I think it's time for them to lay an egg.
If you told me at the beginning of the season I regret picking the Ravens to win this division because I don't believe in the Steelers and their dysfunction, and a Marvin Lewis team that is led by a man who has pictures of everybody in the organization doing something illegal, explicit, something he's doing. But this same team is undefeated there, and they held off a good Ravens team. And last week they held off I don't know, this Bengals team, they just find ways to win games, and AJ Green is coming out really hot. Same with Andy Dalton. They're bringing in some of the college stuff that they've been doing. These RPOs and things are fitting what Andy Dalton likes to do. And if I could really go back and say maybe could I change that pick, I possibly might as an instant reaction, but I'm not so. It's a marathon, not a sprint. But I just don't trust this Bengals team. Like you, I don't trust.
A couple more losses, it'll be a sprint.
Exactly. And see, but I don't trust Cam Newton and company either in this new offense. His defense didn't look all that great. I don't know I really just don't know what to do. For me, I'm just gonna. The Panthers are at home in this game, so when I have a doubt, I always go with the home team. So give me the Panthers. It's gonna be ugly. That's the only way they win this game.
I love this quarterback matchup anyway, though, because these guys came in at the same time. So, I figured that they were forever going to be linked. And for the first couple years, I thought Andy Dalton was doing better than Cam Newton. And then Cam Newton has the breakout year, wins MVP, and Andy Dalton has been kind of trending downward ever since. He's been playing great
They've been
for
trying
the
to
first 2
replace
weeks
him
of the
for years.
season. Right. So we'll see. He's been playing pretty well for the first 2 weeks of this season. We'll see if he can keep it up. All right, let's go to the Monday Nighter, and that is the Steelers going to visit the surprising Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Can we get another week of Fitzmagic? What do you see out of this one?
For your
I
sake,
need it this week, Fitz. God damn it.
For your sake, you better hope Fitzmagic is in full effect. If you told me at the beginning of the year that the Buccaneers would be 2-0 at this point without Jameis Winston, I'd tell you, you're lying to me, and I'd walk away. I would lost if you put money on it. I'd probably have lost a lot of money by now. But this Bucks team offensively, Dirk Cutter finally gave up the play calling duties. It's shown. Todd Monken has brought some of that Big 12 down the field passing offense into Tampa Bay. And the defense, while they don't look great, they don't get a great pass rush, they don't have a great secondary. They don't even have a good secondary. They have a below average secondary. They're the bomb squad. But you know, at the end of the day, when you look at the win-loss total, it doesn't say, well, they were the bomb squad and all of these extra things we talked about. It says win or loss. And right now, Tampa's hot, and they're playing a Steelers team that isn't all. They're moving the ball up and down on teams, but guess what? Everybody's throwing the ball and moving the ball up and down on them. And if I'm a defensive coordinator in Tampa, I'm looking at how the Chiefs just completely obliterated this team through the air. And I think you're going to see a lot of what you saw last week from Tampa and Philly. You're going to see a lot – or actually, I'm sorry, Tampa 2 weeks ago with Tampa and New Orleans. You're going to see a lot of up and down. It's going to be a shootout. As I'm saying this, it's going to be a dogfight at the end, and it'll be 13-10. But I'm taking the Bucks in this one. I'm going to ride – I'm going to drink a little. I want a sip of the Kool-Aid. I don't want the whole thing. I just want a sip. I'm going to sip the Kool-Aid on Fitzmagic and see what happens. Jameis comes back after this week anyway. They say they're going to ride the hot hand, but I don't believe it. Too much dysfunction in Pittsburgh. I think it'll be, we'll say, because the defense is bad, we'll say 31-27 Bucks.
Now the Steelers, the offense can put up numbers. The defense is bad right now. They have time to turn that around. But I'm going to pick the Steelers for one reason, because they need it. Now, this is a team that's been picked by many, including myself, to be a Super Bowl participant or to be somebody, deep in the AFC playoffs. So this is the test for them. Can you pull out a win against what appears to be a pretty good team when you need it? Like you said, it's a marathon, not a sprint. But, if they're going to be the team that people think they are, this is where the test begins. They need this win. So I'm going to pick them to go into Tampa on Monday night and go get this win. I think it will be a shootout. But that's all I got. I think it'll be a shootout. But this is one of those things where I have another scenario in this too. Like, we say this, and then just like you said, end up being like 13-10. But if the Steelers are on top of that 13-10, then Jameis might be able to thank them for getting him his job back. Because if Fitzpatrick goes out this week and lays an egg, then that's less of a case than they had. They won't have such a great decision to make. Like, okay, he played great twice, and then he kind of showed us the other side that he's capable of. We're not ready to dump our franchise quarterback just yet. But if he plays another game like he played the first two, I don't know. I think Jameis is going to have to sit on that bench for a while until the magic is gone.
Just a bit of to pull the curtain back. Last week, I loved Ben Roethlisberger in that loss because he's on my fantasy team. I appreciate almost 40 points off in a loss. Who cares about wins and losses when it comes to fantasy football? As long as your whole team, the team, it's about the team. Well, I need the team to do well behind Ben Roethlisberger yet again. I need this to be a high-scoring game. But let's get it in the 40. Can we get it in the 40?
And that's the same thing I'm thinking for. I'm like, man, I'm hoping for a shootout. You know what I'm saying? I'm picking the Steelers to win because I don't care who wins. I just need y'all to score a point. I need Juju to get his man. I need Fitzpatrick to get his. So let's have it. We can have a tie for all I care. I mean, it seems like that's the theme of the NFL season thus far anyway. All right, let's go out to Seattle. They finally get a home game out of all of this, and they will be welcoming the 1-1 Dallas Cowboys. Cowboy Nation, as they do, got really excited after week one. they got really excited after week 2 when they got this win over the Giants after looking very underwhelming during week 1. So, we know what kind of fan base that is, and we know the highs, the lows, the ups, the downs, and how they, live and die by every single win or loss. Like, the world's falling after week 1. We go into the Super Bowl after week 2. What do you think about the Cowboys visiting the 12 up in Seattle?
Well, Seattle is the Legion of Boom doesn't exist anymore. Russell Wilson's carrying this team, and I said he'd carry his team. Now, I did predict an MVP, but if it's going to happen, he's going to have to put up even bigger numbers than what he's already doing. But for me, when I look at this team, I'm not afraid of Dallas anymore. I'm still not afraid of Dallas. And if that's how you have to win, Zeke is going to have to just have a silly game, and you're going to have Dak every now and then just converting tough first down. I'm cool with that. I'm cool with putting eight guys in the box and saying, you beat me, Dak. Please, by all means.
Yeah.
If you can do that, that's fine. The only thing that's deterring me a little bit is this Seattle linebacking core. KJ Wright and Bobby Wagner, they didn't play last week on Monday. So you can't already not have the pass rush they had last year in the last few years. You don't have that anymore. You don't have the back end guys outside of Earl Thomas who for all of this might be an audition for him to go to Dallas. Who knows? But it seems like he's been linked there forever. But with all that being said, I said it seems like Dallas would lose this game, but I'm taking the Cowboys in this one simply because I don't trust Seattle at this point. I might be. I'm a little hurt. I'm hurt by this offense. I thought it'd be much better.
For me, like you said, the Legion of Boom is gone. They were missing linebackers, but Bobby Wagner's going to be back for this game. The offense, they first of all they need to go ahead and pick a running back. Like who's gonna be your bell cow? I think it's going to end up being Penny. They even had Michael Kendricks come in and play a pretty good game straight off the street and facing felony charges. They don't even know how long they're going to have him, but they needed some help at linebacker, and he came in, helped, got a sack. So I think even without the Legion of Boom, even without their top linebackers, I think the defense still played pretty well. So, add those guys back to the mix. Add that on to the fact that the Giants haven't looked the Cowboys haven't looked impressive offensively yet this season. Add to the fact that they get to play their first game at home, and you got the 12th man there. I think Seattle's going to win this game, and I think they're going to win this game rather easily. Not seeing much from the Daxter.
Yeah, I'm still on the fence when it comes to him. For me, when I have a problem with quarterbacks that are more trailer than tractor. We've had this conversation before. If I got to bring you up to speed, if you're the tractor, you're the guy. You're the guy. You're the Brady, the Manning, Peyton Manning specifically, not the other one. Roethlisberger in his prime, Rivers, those guys. You're that guy. But if you're a trailer, you're Andy Dalton. You need a lot of weapons. And I think that Dak needs a lot of help. He needs a good offensive line, a good running back. He needs second and short, third and short to convert. And he needs all the conditions to be going his way. And there's nothing wrong with that, but there's no guarantee you'll win games with that.
No doubt. All right, so let's move on to the 49ers versus the I don't even know what to call these dudes. Not the NASCAR package on defense, but the NASCAR offense, the Kansas City Chiefs. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that this is the Chiefs' first home game as well. Am I right about that? I think it's the Chiefs' first home game.
Yeah, it's the Chiefs' first home game.
Yeah, I can let you rock on this one because I don't have much to say about this one. I don't see any chance of the 49ers going in here and getting a win. The 49ers are starting to find their footing. I mean, that's not hard to do against the Lions, especially the way that they're playing. But, I think Jimmy G will improve and have better showings as the season goes on, even this week, because the Chiefs aren't scaring anybody on defense at the moment. So I think the 49ers can go in here and have some offensive success. Breida had a great game the other day. But the Chiefs, man, like Patrick Mahomes, we talked about him in the open, 10 touchdowns over 2 games, the fastest start to a season ever. If he can get 15, then he'll tie Peyton Manning for the fastest 3-game start ever. You got Tyreek Hill. Man, you've even had Sammy Watkins sightings, Kareem Hunt in the backfield. Travis Kelce, they just have too many weapons, offensively. And I don't think San Francisco, that's not the team, at least in week 3, they're not the team that I'm going to tab to be able to keep up with these guys. So I got the Chiefs in this one pretty. The Niners will have some success, but I still see a double-figure win here.
Yeah, this Chiefs team, it's hard for a team to win by double digits and keep this offense up like this. But if anybody's doing it with the way they're doing it, I believe it's the Chiefs. And, all offseason I kept saying the Chiefs are going to be one of two things. Really, because you have a really good quarterback, cruising into the decent offensive line, as well as the fact that you have a move the ball up and down the field with tight end. You have Andy Reid, the quarterback whisperer, and all of these things came to fruition. So I'm thinking the Chiefs and with this one. And quite honestly, I feel like this game could get kind of ugly. I never really like to predict double-digit wins, but this one could get really ugly. Jimmy G, guess what, guys? Defensive coordinator has been watching him for a long time on the offseason. They've been grinding that tape away in there. It's starting to show.
All right, last but not least, let's talk about the Chargers and the Rams, the battle for L.A. This one is going to be played at the Coliseum. This is a home game for the Rams. Another one. The Chargers I respect as a team. I go out of my way to, overpick on the Chargers every year. You know that. I believe in the Chargers when they do not believe in themselves. But you know how high I am on the Rams this year. Dream team, and they haven't disappointed yet. I don't see the Chargers being able to keep up with this team because this is one where the offense is high-powered, but the defense is just as high-powered. The Chargers, they have Phillip Rivers back there, so there's always going to be a shot. There's always going to be some success, but I don't think this one is going to be hard for me to call either. If this isn't double figures, it'll be damn close to double figures. So I'm taking the Rams on this one.
I'm taking the Rams, too. Phillip Rivers and Melvin Gordon are the only ones there on that offense. Offensive line isn't terrible, but they haven't seen the likes of Sue and Aaron Donald at the same time. Those teams only see a guy like those two once a week. You get to see both of those guys at the same time. And by the way, just as good as their defensive line is, their secondary is just as good, maybe better. So, by the way, if you want a low scoring, muck it up, really dirty type of game, and I'm not saying these guys will play dirty, but if you just want a low-scoring affair, this defense can handle that. But if you want to put points on the board, Brandon Cooks, Todd Gurley, Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp. By the way, Jared Goff looks pretty good, although I want to see him push the ball down the field a little bit more. Come on, man. You got weapons now. No more excuses.
And you have a defense, so you can afford to take some chances, take some risks, because the defense is going to cover you up.
Exactly. So you have all of those weapons to do that with. So can we push the ball down the field just a little bit? Just a little bit. I don't need you to go bombs away. Don't go crazy. Just down the field just a little bit. But I'm taking the Rams in this one. This one's not even a question.
All right, and there you have it, everybody. That is our Pick 6 segment, and that is our show for this week. You guys make sure you check everything we're doing out here at the company, WarRoomSports.com. You can check out archive episodes of this show, Cover 2 with McMillan and Purdue. If you're a college football fan, you can check out Quick Slants. That's our college football show. And you can catch it live on Thursdays from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern Time, or you can catch archive episodes of The Mothership, The War Room, also at WarRoomSports.com, iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, the War Room Sports mobile app, anywhere. Anywhere that you listen to podcasts, you'll find everything. And you'll catch Fred doing segments on that show as well. But Fred, before we go, let everybody know where they can catch you on the internet on Sundays when they're sitting down with their beer, their popcorn, their pizza, watching these games and looking for all the stuff that we told them to look out for.
You can catch me on Twitter, Fred Purdue CFB. I'm around from Friday to Sunday, really, really, really just digging into these high school games, these college games, these NFL games. I'm getting out, man. I get primed and ready on Friday, but, it doesn't end until Sunday. And maybe even on Monday, maybe on a Thursday. You never know. I'm always on Twitter.
No doubt. All right, and y'all can catch me during the games at DevMacWR Sports on Twitter. You can catch me at the War Room Sports Facebook page, and you can also catch me on the GroupMe app if you have that. If you don't, get the GroupMe app and just look for the War Room Sports Game Time group where we talk sports and a whole lot of other crap during these games. Just join us. You'll have a ball. But look, this has been another episode of Cover 2 with McMillan and Purdue. The games are heating up. Week 3 is here. We wait all year for this, and I hate how quickly it goes by, but we're going to enjoy it while it's here. Like we always tell you guys before we sign out, don't accept mediocrity. Be steadfast in the war against ignorance, and we'll see you chumps on top.
Going up to LaFell. Touchdown. The big screen. Sanchez over the middle. Touchdown. Play action. Cutler wide open. Sanzenbacher.
War Room Sports, www.warroomsports.com. What? Ain't no more to it.
It's maybe the night that my dreams might let me know. All the stars are closer. All the stars are closer.
Tell me what you gonna do to me. Confrontation ain't nothing new to me. You could bring a bullet, bring a sword, bring a morgue, but you can't bring the truth to me.
Alexa, play Kendrick Lamar and SZA.
Okay. Maybe the night that my dreams might let me know. All the stars are closer.
With Amazon Music, a voice is all you need. Get tens of millions of songs. Download the Amazon Music app today.
Till the tears run down from my eyes, Lord, somebody, ooh, somebody, can anybody find me? Somebody to love.
Alexa, play hits from Queen.
Okay.
With Amazon Music, a voice is all you need. Get tens of millions of songs. Download the Amazon Music app today.